I time-traveled back to my boyfriend's high school years and saw with my own eyes the brutal way he was bullied, planning to swoop in and change his fate, only for him to grab my hand and press me about the future. But when I swore up and down I'd make it right, I realized I was starting to fade, and his tearful smile in that moment cut me to the bone. I slipped back to my boyfriend's high school days. He was beaten bloody, hands shaking as he reached for a steamed bun on the ground. I told him, "I'm your future wife." He pressed his bloodless lips together. "Then say it. Say you love me. Say you'll never leave me." On the eve of our wedding, I slipped back to his high school again. In a narrow alley, Luke Dawson was slammed against the ground, a hand clamped viciously around his neck. He didn't fight or struggle like he was used to it, like it was routine. His face stayed blank while blood ran from the cut. The onlookers jeered. I knew the one doing the beating. Luke's stepbrother, Jason Smith. "Jason, look at him, he's like a dog." With that kind of spine, he'll never be a threat to you. Jason only smiled, lifted Luke's face, and patted it with the contempt you'd use on a mutt. "Come on, let Big Brother hear you bark." I lowered my voice, told the 110 operator what was happening and where, and hung up. From the other side came, "That son of your stepmother is just as low as she is." The words seared through Luke's nerves. The dead look in his eyes shattered. He twisted and went for Jason like a little beast provoked. He was outmatched from the start. As the others surged in, I rushed out. "What are you doing?" "I've already called the police. You'd better go." I let my gaze slide over the crest on their uniforms. "So, this is what students of Chinan No 1 High School are like?" Jason snorted. "Damn, nosy as hell." He flung Luke aside, tossed out a threat, and marched off with his crew. As he passed me, he gave me a slow once-over. I knew he was sizing up my family background by my clothes. Luckily, whatever I'd crossed over with was still on me. That's the only reason he left so clean. I stared at Luke, dazed. Across all those years, I'd been dropped into a piece of his life I'd never lived. He acted like none of it mattered and reached with trembling fingers for the bun. Even through the plastic, the grime made me frown, and there was mud smeared inside, too. I went over, crouched, and pressed his hand down. Luke lifted a blank face, fingertips trembling. Only then did I notice how terrifyingly cold his hands were. He was all angles, his face paper white. "Don't. It's filthy." I always carry snacks, finally useful. I moved my hand away, dug out 2 little bread rolls, and offered them. Luke didn't take them, just stared at me, eyes hollow and strange. I tore one open, bit off a piece. It's clean, not poisoned. Before I could offer more, he snatched it and crammed it into his mouth, barely chewing, swallowing it dry in 2 gulps. With a little strength back, he slumped against the wall and reached again for the bun on the ground. I was quicker and dragged it toward me. He missed, and something flickered in his eyes. Confusion, at least. "It's dirty. You can't eat it." Luke cut me a look. "I'll eat it." "You won't." He was tall but stick-thin, all gawky limbs. He leaned toward where the bun was. I stood up at once. I lifted a corner of the bag in front of him, about to toss it when a scruffy little dog came out of nowhere and circled me, tail wagging like crazy. Its fur was dry and patchy. I opened the bag and broke off the clean part of the bun for it, then dumped the bag and the muddy piece in the trash. When I turned back, Luke's eyes were full of reproach. I sighed inside. "Let's go to the hospital. I'll buy you something to eat on the way." Luke has severe stomach trouble. When we first started dating, my friends teased him and called it a CEO's ailment. He just smiled, shook his head, and warned me gently, "So you have to eat properly. It hurts a lot. You couldn't stand it." Back then, I thought he'd just eaten irregularly. I swore to him, "Don't worry. I'll eat well and I'll make sure you do too." Was this really how he lived in high school? Whenever we talked school, he jumped to college, to meeting me, and dodged the past. When I asked, he'd give me a line or two. Not exactly pleasant. Better left alone. He watched me for a long moment. I waggled my phone at him. I've got money. One of you is more than enough for me. The moment I arrived, I'd checked. The string of digits in my account was still there. My card wouldn't work here, but the balance in the account was plenty. A lot of those big transfers had come from Luke. Using the older Luke's money to feed the younger Luke, somehow that felt wickedly funny. He still wouldn't move, so I reached to help him. Look at you, skin and bones. He was feather light. I lifted him with no effort. A sack of bones draped in skin. Luke took my support and stood, saying nothing. Head bowed. Maybe he was checking whether he really looked the way I said. Years of hunger and beatings must have slowed his thoughts. After a moment, he murmured, head still dipped. It's okay. I used to be thinner. There was a wronged note to it. My heart clenched hard. Then he tested the waters. I'm hungry. We'll go to the hospital first. Then you can eat whatever you want, okay? I couldn't help using the voice you use to coax a child. And doesn't your head hurt? Luke nodded. It hurts and I'm hungrier. I helped him out to the street to hail a cab, my chest burning. I'd never seen resentment at fate in him. It had tricked me into believing he'd grown up in love, so he never complained, never turned bitter. That's why it's hard to imagine how someone who lived through all that could still grow up so gentle and forgiving. While Luke was getting checked, I went to the nearest mall to buy him some clothes. When I paid, my eyes nearly popped out. 1,000 yuan purchase turned into 1,000,000 on my phone. I muttered under my breath. There's a ghost in my phone. The clerk glanced over and said warmly, That's a beautiful piece. I've never seen one like it. To everyone else, my spending looked completely normal. I figured it out, everything I buy here is multiplied by 1,000. 1 to 1,000. Not long ago, I'd bragged that supporting one Luke would be a breeze. Now his 3,000 yuan hospital bill had cost me over 3 million. My face twisted. Luke's eyes flickered. I'm fine. I don't need treatment. He tried to shove the test results and prescription back to the nurse. I quickly grabbed his hand and dragged him outside, scolding as we went. What are you doing? You're sick and don't want to see a doctor trying to become an immortal? Inside, I was secretly pleased. He used to lecture me like this. Now, it was my turn. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks. What's wrong? His voice came muffled. Hungry. We'll eat, but the doctor said you need to start with something light and easy to digest. And don't eat too much at once. Luke stayed silent. I turned, puzzled, and saw his eyes fixed on the bag of medicine he was holding. Before I could figure it out, he looked up, his eyes full of suspicion. He blinked once. Medicine. Then he hung the bag on my wrist. I lifted it, half exasperated, half amused. You're the one who's sick! Luke didn't react, just touched the freshly bandaged wound on his head. I'm sick. I'm hungry. His tone was pitiful beyond words. I almost nodded along out of sympathy. I'll take you to eat, but the doctor said. I repeated the instructions again. I wasn't sure he listened to a word, and when I finished, he glared at me like I'd deeply wronged him. Liar. Maybe thinking that wasn't scary enough, he bared his teeth. If you won't feed me, I'll eat you. Hunger really must affect intelligence. Luke was acting downright silly. I couldn't help it. I pulled out my phone and snapped 3 quick photos of him. I didn't say you can't eat, but we have to take it slow, right? If you eat carelessly now, your stomach will hurt like hell. Luke thought about it, then reluctantly decided I had a point. He took the bag off my wrist and carried it himself. Once upon a time, there was the story of Han Xin being fed by a kind old woman and repaying her with gold. Today, I, Jennifer Delaney, redefine what it means to buy a meal worth its weight in gold. Damn this ratio. Luke wasn't eating food. He was eating money. I only ordered 2 bowls of porridge and 2 steamed buns. The look on his face was pure misery, though he didn't say a word, just kept glancing toward the door. I told you, you need to take care of your stomach. Next time I'll get you something better. The moment I said that, he pulled his gaze back, his eyes lighting up like a puppy waiting for its owner to say, dinner time. I gestured for him to eat. Go ahead. What followed was a whirlwind feast. I couldn't understand it. The Luke I knew was always calm and elegant. The boy in front of me was the complete opposite. 3 years from now, he'd be the man I fell for. What kind of miracle could change him this much? I pushed the thought aside and watched him devour his meal, my heart aching a little. The words on my tongue circled once and died there. Forget it. There would be time to teach him later. I handed him a napkin. He half-heartedly dabbed his mouth, tossed it, then looked at me with big, pleading eyes. I'm hungry. I raised a brow. Are you going to be good? He gave me a confused look. But for food, he caved easily. Good. You say I'm sick? Then I'm sick. I won't argue. In that moment, I saw the shadow of the man he'd become. Sharp, strategic, always calm in the storm. The man who'd often tell me, don't worry, I'm here. I always believed him, and he always found a way to make things right. But even this younger version had a strange charm. So obedient, so easy to handle. I smiled sweetly. Then since you're good, we're not hungry anymore. Let's go. Luke's face fell instantly, all expression wiped clean. He trudged after me like a wandering ghost, hollow-eyed and lifeless. Seriously, did he stay expressionless all the time just to save energy? Where do you live? I'll take you back to school. Then I remembered what I'd seen earlier and quickly rephrased. How are your roommates? Are they good to you? Luke shook his head slowly. I live off campus, alone. No roommates, he answered obediently, then lifted his eyes toward me. You're good to me. I was stunned, silent. It shouldn't have been like this. How could Luke have had a past like that? I asked softly. Then, your mom? Luke rarely spoke about his family. When we first met, he only said his parents had passed away. I'd looked at him with pity, and he'd tapped me on the head with a smile. What are you thinking? I'm not as tragic as you think. I've already had more than enough. He was so kind, so forgiving. Naturally, I'd assumed he was someone who'd grown up loved, only to lose that love later. Being loved made him gentle, made him unresentful. But now, it seemed that wasn't true at all. Luke's lips pressed together, lashes trembling. Never met the one who gave birth to me. Before I could ask, he went on, the one now is my adoptive mother. My birth mother was young. She had me and left. My dad found me and raised me. After he died, my mom remarried and took me with her. A few simple sentences, but they held a lifetime of pain. My chest tightened. Luke watched me quietly for a moment, then bent down until our eyes met so close our breaths mingled. My heartbeat stumbled. His low, husky voice brushed my ear. Sis, does your heart ache for me? I was barely holding it together. What? I tried to steady my breathing, forcing my voice to sound casual. Luke smiled, his pretty eyes curving. I'm hungry. Those 2 words were like a spell. I clamped my hand over his mouth. You'll say what I say, you're not hungry. He wilted instantly, like a flower drying under the sun, mumbling a sulky, oh, not what I expected. Luke's place wasn't bad at all, clean, bright, and neatly kept. The apartment had all the appliances anyone could need. You live here but can't afford food? He took the medicine out one by one, neatly arranging them. It's Uncle's. Not mine. Afraid I wouldn't get it, Luke added. Jason's father. No wonder the place felt lifeless, like no one truly lived there. It was probably just a place Luke used to crash, or maybe no one really cared where or how he lived. He just had to keep breathing, that was enough. I went quiet too long, and Luke shot me a heavy look. Hand. In a few quick strides, he crossed the room and held his hand out to me. From the rough calluses and the bruised, short-trimmed nails, I could tell his life was far from easy. There was dried blood beneath the nail beds, like someone had crushed them hard. His open palm bore several small scars. Your hand, he said again when I didn't move. He pried open my clenched fingers. Only then did I notice I'd been digging my nails into my palm, leaving shallow half-moon marks. I looked up instinctively, meeting his gaze. It's okay. Don't be afraid. His voice was low, uncertain if he was comforting me or himself. I'm not as miserable as you think. The memories overlapped, settling into the present. Not miserable? Luke really was a good man. Always had been, always would be. I've made it this far, got an education, no one owes me anything. No one? I echoed. From what I saw, he was surrounded by people who'd wronged him. His family couldn't possibly be unaware of his situation, they just chose to ignore it. I was abandoned at birth, but I have no right to hate. My dad said my birth mother was too young. She couldn't handle it, and I understand that. My dad took me in and never mistreated me. When my mom remarried, she brought me with her. I have a school, a future. There's nothing tragic about that. Luke spoke calmly, pouring me a glass of water as he did. It's still warm. Drink. The glass was pleasantly warm to the touch. Luke went on. As for Jason and his crowd, I won't say I don't resent them, but my mom's life is hard enough. I can't add to her pain. I took a sip. The water was indeed warm. Yet a dizziness crept in. Maybe Luke didn't need saving after all. He had his own world, his own quiet set of rules. It wasn't that he didn't know how to fight back, he just understood better than anyone how harsh life could be. How impossible it was for a woman with a child to survive after marrying into a wealthy family. His adoptive mother didn't love him much, but she didn't hate him either. But still, I loved him. I couldn't stand it. Why are you telling me all this? My gaze wandered as I tapped the side of the glass with my fingers, then pulled away. There was still that video on my phone, the bullying scene. Every face captured clearly. If I sent it out, Jason might face punishment or maybe not, but Luke and his mother definitely would. Luke dodged the question. Instead, he asked, "Why are you so good to me?" My eyes returned to his face, those black and white eyes full of confusion and stubbornness. "Because I want to be." My fingers shifted unconsciously against the warm glass. "Luke." I set my other hand on it too, cupping it between both palms, and tilted my head with a small smile. I tried to sound playful. "You might not believe this, but I'm your future wife. Crazy. Nonsense." I waited for him to say it, but his lashes fluttered, and he asked, "How far in the future?" That caught me off guard. I wanted to tell him 3 years, when he was a sophomore and I was a freshman, but no matter how I tried, I couldn't get the words out. Some kind of rule, maybe. I couldn't tell him when, so I said, "Not too near, but not too far either." Luke suddenly smiled, a real smile this time, pure and bright. His lips curved up, eyes soft. Like a glass of iced mint tea in summer, clear and cool. I always thought his life should have been like that, warm, open, full of light. But it seemed it was always raining in his world, sometimes storms, sometimes endless drizzle. I ended up staying with Luke. I came up with a lousy excuse. My parents had just divorced, things were awful at home, and I was now homeless. In my head, I quietly apologized to Mom and Dad. "For the sake of your daughter's happiness, just pretend to be divorced for a bit." It was a flimsy story, full of holes. At that, Luke's eyes softened into a faint smile. After my dad died, my mom held up the whole family alone. She was sick but never let me drop out, just told me to study hard. Later, when she worked as a waitress, she met Jason's father. My mom was beautiful, so they got married. My childhood wasn't that bad. He paused, then added, "No one owes me anything." Like he was writing a footnote for his life, repeating it, convincing himself not to resent. "You're allowed to resent," I said, thinking back. You know, when I was in school, I'd complain about early classes, lazy group mates, even the cafeteria lady giving me too little food. When I started working, I complained about coworkers dumping tasks on me, projects running late, raises that didn't meet expectations. Luke and I were total opposites. I was quick-tempered, losing it over every little thing, while he stayed calm, methodical, unshakable. I used to envy that. I took a breath and said, What I mean is, you don't have to be the kind of person everyone expects. Being yourself is enough. If you never complain, I admire your grace. If you do, I'll cherish your honesty. Just the same. I didn't know whether Luke truly felt no resentment, or if he'd just learned to silence it. But it didn't matter, I accepted him either way. Maybe I wasn't sent here to save him. Maybe I just needed to tell him he was loved. That in a future he couldn't see, there was a certain me waiting for him. Luke pressed his fist to his lips, smiling faintly. Got it, thanks. I might have imagined it, but I swore there was a teasing glint in his eyes. You're homeless and still worried about me? Huh? I opened my mouth, but no words came. He actually believed that? Don't you have class tomorrow? Get some rest. To cover rent, I'll handle your meals. I'm a great cook. Luke glanced at me and suddenly said, Then you'd better buy yourself some clothes to change into. I'd forgotten this wasn't the home Luke and I would share later. There wasn't a single thing of mine here. I was about to agree when I checked my account balance on my phone. I swallowed my words in silence. Here, I couldn't get a job, my identity information didn't exist. For now, I could only live off what I had, one day at a time. I couldn't bear to watch Luke go hungry, but I also couldn't go around without clothes. After thinking for a while, I forced myself to call out to him. He looked at me with confusion. Can I wear your clothes? Almost instantly, a faint blush crept up Luke's ears. He shot me a startled glance. The dullness in his eyes lit up with panic and embarrassment. I didn't mean to make him uncomfortable, but just a few sets of clothes here would cost me millions with this world's exchange rate. I didn't know how long I could stay here, but Luke absolutely couldn't go without food. Of course, I'll buy my own underwear. Just lend me a few of your old t-shirts and maybe some colorful shorts or something. I was embarrassed at first, but seeing how flustered Luke was, hands awkwardly hanging at his sides, I couldn't help wanting to tease him. So, do you have any colorful shorts? I doubted it. The grown-up Luke always dressed so properly. This younger Luke buttoned his shirt all the way to the top. Too obedient. He waved his hands frantically, face flushed. Don't say that. Well, well. No wonder that damn Luke later wore something different day and night, always teasing me until I was red-faced and begging him to stop. So this is where it started. How fun. You don't have to worry about me, I went on. I've been allergic to new clothes since I was little. I lied effortlessly. But the more I talked, the guiltier I felt. Luke muttered, I'm done worrying about you, then darted into his room. Just before closing the door, he peeked his head back out to look at me. I sighed, still running through ways to stretch my remaining funds. After a long round of mental math, I concluded that in a few months I'd be living with Luke on a 3 days hungry, 2 days fed schedule. Great. I brushed my messy hair aside and poured myself a glass of water. That's when I suddenly remembered the police had told me to come make a statement earlier today, but I'd said I needed to take Luke to the hospital first. Tomorrow, then. Except, I didn't have an ID. I couldn't go. If they checked, well, I'd basically be turning myself in. Frustrated, I downed the glass of water in one go and still felt suffocated. I flopped onto the couch, threw my arms wide, and howled at the ceiling. Ah! A head popped out from behind the door, Luke, looking torn. Don't be like that. I didn't mean it when I said I wouldn't worry about you. Here, just stop yelling. He tossed a bag from the doorway. It landed right in front of me. I sat up and reached for it. Inside were his shirts, and a pair of school pants cut short. From behind the door, his muffled voice continued. Quieter and quieter. They're a bit small now, but you can wear them. I washed them. They're clean. I burst out laughing. Why are you hiding behind the door? Are you shy? Silence. After a long pause, Luke's voice came, low and a little hoarse. Why are you so good at this? He didn't sound happy. I thought for a second, then smiled. Because you taught me. The future you did. So now I'm not shy at all. He didn't respond. And I didn't care. I went on. I don't want to go make that statement, Luke. What should I do? His reply was instant. Don't be afraid. I'll go instead. I sat on the couch, legs swinging, remembering how before our wedding I'd curled up in Luke's arms, whispering that I was scared. He'd patted my back, soothing me over and over. Don't be afraid. If it gets too hard, I'll go alone. Everyone already knows who the bride is. That little joke had wiped away all my anxiety then. And now, 3 years before we'd even met, he was saying almost the same thing. After some rustling behind the door, Luke finally opened it and said solemnly, "Go to bed early." I froze mid-swing, then smiled with my eyes curved. Was that his way of responding to my teasing? I wasn't sure what Luke did, but somehow the police record business got handled smoothly. I still had the video I'd recorded that day. While Luke was eating, I showed it to him. "Do you need this?" I said. "I thought maybe I could use public attention to help you, but right now, it'd probably just hurt you. Especially since, for Luke, his adoptive mother meant the world." He listened quietly, then nodded. "You're right." He scooped up a huge bite of food and shoved it in his mouth without hesitation. I wrapped my fingers on the table, giving him a look. "If you keep eating that fast, I'll get mad." I was going to say, "If you eat that fast again, you won't get any next time." But that felt cruel, so I softened it. Seeing him slow down, I continued, "If you want to make it through, you'll have to hold out until college entrance exams." Part of the reason Luke's life was so rough was that Jason made sure he couldn't get any part-time jobs. And whatever money came from the Smiths vanished before it reached Luke's hands. 200 yuan a month, that was what he lived on. Not even 1/10 of what Jason spent on a single meal. No wonder Luke was always starving. He looked up from his bowl. "You're right." I couldn't help laughing. "Is that the only thing you know how to say, 'you're right'?" Luke looked completely serious. "Because you are right." I collapsed onto the table, laughing uncontrollably. When I finally stopped, I propped my chin on my hand. "Luke, my cooking's pretty good, huh?" If he dared say no, I'd turn him into the next dish. He picked up another bite and said, "You're right. Then tell me, am I a good person?" Luke noticed my playful mood and sighed helplessly. "You're right." I pointed at myself. "Then look at me. Don't you think I'd make a great girlfriend?" Luke choked mid-bite and started coughing violently. I jumped up and patted his back. His eyes were watery as he stammered, "Didn't you say, 'You're my future wife'?" I nodded eagerly, eyes shining at him. "Yeah, that's right." He lowered his head and kept eating. I frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" Then I started rambling again. "I've got looks, I've got brains, I've got the figure. What could you possibly be unhappy with?" Just when I thought he wasn't going to answer, he said, "Then why are you asking?" His words were sharp, but the tips of his ears were burning red. So shy, damn it, I couldn't even kiss him. "When I get back, I swear I'll kiss Luke to death." He was so unbearably cute when he was young. Just a few words and his face would go red to the roots. Luke tried to keep a straight face, but the color at his ears gave him away. He studied me seriously. "You've got the looks, the figure, the brains. I'm just afraid you'll be disappointed in me." His words made my heart melt. I broke my own rule and gave him another bowl of rice. As I set it in front of him, I said softly, "You told me the same thing later. You know, you became someone incredible. It's crazy, really, that you'd fall for me. You were always worrying I'd stop liking you. My friends used to ask if I'd put a spell on you. Don't look at me like that, it's true. You're amazing. You started your own business in college while still topping your classes. I was your junior when I got to campus. Everyone talked about you. Professors used you as an example, saying you'd failed your first startup, but never wasted time feeling sorry for yourself, always analyzing what went wrong and moving forward. The more I talked, the more excited I got. Luke listened while eating, quiet but attentive. When I paused for breath, he poured me a glass of water. "Thirsty?" I sighed. "You don't believe me, do you? You're not even curious enough to ask questions." He looked at me, smiling with gentle amusement. Then tell me, did I meet you after I succeeded? Of course you did. Were you even listening? Aren't you hungry? I tugged at the school pants he'd lent me and huffed. A little. I'd eat first, then pick a fight later. Luke just smiled, like he'd expected that. In the end, I didn't get the chance to argue after dinner. He obediently washed the dishes, then sat down to do homework. I slipped quietly out of the room. I was terrified he'd ask me for help. I'd forgotten everything. Under my care, if you could call it that, Luke's body recovered quickly. In just 2 months, he began to look like a real teenager again. His face wasn't ghostly pale anymore, and he didn't complain of hunger every other minute. During that time, Jason hadn't bothered him again. But Luke could really eat if I didn't stop him. He'd eat until he made himself sick. It was like he didn't know what full meant. I couldn't afford a doctor, so I searched the reason on my phone. Some said that people who've starved for a long time develop a fear of hunger and gorge whenever they can. All I could do was try to control his portions. As my account balance shrank, a deep unease grew inside me. I had this vague, growing sense that I was about to leave this world. The feeling only got stronger, but I hadn't yet seen Jason and his gang punished, hadn't seen Luke living the life he deserved. The day that dread became impossible to ignore, I did something I never did. I changed clothes and went to pick him up. Pathetic, really. The only intact outfit I had was the one I'd worn when I arrived. All this time, I'd been wearing Luke's school uniform, the most literal couple outfit ever. I waited and waited, but Luke didn't show. Panic clawed at me as I ran toward the alley where it had happened before. Same place, same faces, same scene. My heart thundered in my chest. Luke saw me immediately and gave me a small, reassuring smile. His body, which had finally healed, was covered in fresh bruises again. I was just about to call the police when a dull thud rang out ahead. Jason turned to me with a mocking grin. "You keep saving him. Don't tell me it's because my little brother." He stopped, his look turning lewd and vile. "What's so great about him that you can't get him out of your head? Why don't you take a look at us instead?" The crowd burst into knowing laughter. Luke, who'd been silent until then, suddenly snapped. He slammed Jason to the ground and started punching, hard and fast. It was a one-sided fight, Luke pinning Jason down, blow after blow. He'd lost control, and no one dared step in. "Jason, you really think I won't tell your dad what you said? We're family. I even saw you at New Year's." Jason froze mid-scream, stunned. Luke and I locked eyes. Then he jumped up, kicked Jason one last time, grabbed my hand, and ran. The wind roared in my ears, mingled with Luke's ragged breathing. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." As he pulled me along, a thought broke through hesitantly, and I blurted, "Luke, doesn't this feel like we're eloping?" Back when we were together, I'd secretly wished he'd do something reckless for me, not out of rebellion, but because I was insecure, hoping he'd prove his love through something wild. But Luke was the kind of person meant to walk the straight road, never straying because of me. I'd never told him that. Yet somehow, here we were, accidentally living it out. Me and the younger Luke, running through the spring-lit streets, the noise of the world fading behind us. "Don't say things like that." His breath came heavy as he pushed me around a corner. "No eloping. You and I were going to live a good life." Then he smiled at me brighter than any flower in bloom. "Are you really my future wife?" Luke always asked that, and I never hesitated. Yes, just as real as my love for you. But this time, he didn't look away. He pressed his pale lips together, a flicker of happiness in his eyes. "Then say you love me. Say you'll never leave me." I smiled and met his gaze, steady and sure. "I love you. I'll never leave you. I really, really want to be with you forever." Luke looked so happy, his eyes practically glowing. Then he asked, "So, is it in that not too near but not too far future that we meet?" I nodded. Luke took 2 steps forward and pulled me into a crushing embrace, holding me like he wanted to fuse me into his body. I tried to lift my head to ask what was wrong, but he held it down, forcing me to listen to the fierce pounding of his heart. His voice trembled above my head. Then I'll wait for you. You have to come. Our Jennifer isn't some homeless kid. We'll have a home. I'll wait for you. You have to come. He let me go and stepped back. I had so many questions I wanted to ask, but he didn't give me the chance. He just smiled gently. Go home. I'll be waiting. The scene before me flipped like shifting sand. The world blurred, then came back into focus. I was home, our home, mine and Luke's. I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, only to fall into a warm embrace. He held me close, soothing me carefully. Bad dream? He rubbed my head, keeping me tight against his chest. Don't be afraid, I'm here. I cried for a long time, choking out the words. I went back to your high school days. It didn't feel like a dream, it was too real. They bullied you, all of them bullied you. You're such a good person, why would they treat you like that? Luke's arms stiffened around me. He looked down, a faint smile tugging at his lips. So you remember now? One hand patted my back. The other took a tissue to wipe my tears. It's okay. I had you, and you were good to me. Fate's been kind to me. His expression softened completely, eyes full of warmth. Back then, I thought, if there's a God, he should come save me. And then you came. My chaotic memories slowly connected into a single thread. So, you threw yourself into work, into building a business. Was that for me? I looked up at him, eyes full of hope. Seeing that I'd stopped crying, Luke's smile deepened. Yes, you said we'd meet after I succeeded. I really wanted to see you, so I couldn't afford to slack off. No wonder in every story I'd ever heard, Luke had worked like a man possessed. My heart ached as I cupped his face. I never knew you had a past like that. If it were me, I'd hate the whole world. Luke gazed at me deeply, sighing softly. How could I hate the world when someone like you once loved me? I barely have time to thank fate for sending you. Embarrassed by his words, I buried my face against his chest. He laughed and ruffled my hair. Still not sleeping? Tomorrow's our wedding day. I'm afraid you won't get up. I leapt off him immediately. Sleep! I'm going to sleep. Tomorrow's my big day. Check my eyes. Are they swollen from crying? No. You're beautiful. I huffed and was about to go to bed, then suddenly turned back and showered Luke with kisses. A moment later, I was lying across his lap, crying again. He comforted me patiently while I sniffled and accused him. You used to be so innocent. What happened to you? Luke, shameless as ever, said with a straight face. You're the one who taught me. I just took your lessons to heart and improved on the original. Ugh, I should have known better than to tease him back then. Still, I wasn't about to let him have the last word. I shot him a sly glance, already plotting payback. He smiled gently. You're not planning to sleep tonight, are you? Who says I'm not? I scrambled under the covers, pulling the blanket up to my chin. There's plenty of time. I'll get my revenge sooner or later.